The hotel room in Singapore felt like a tomb at midnight. I sat there in my boxers, laptop balanced on my knees, waiting for Lara's face to fill the screen. The video call connected after 3 rings, and there she was, my wife of 4 years, supposedly asleep on our living room couch. "Hey, beautiful," I whispered, adjusting the camera angle. "Sorry it's so late there." Lara stirred, opening those green eyes that had captivated me since law school. "Wes? What time is it?" "Just past midnight your time. I couldn't sleep. Jet lag's got me twisted up like a pretzel." I forced a smile, though something felt off. The lighting in our living room seemed different, shadows falling where they shouldn't. "You look exhausted, honey. How did the merger meetings go?" I started explaining the complexities of international corporate law, but my attention kept drifting to the background of her video feed. There, behind the kitchen doorway, a shadow moved. Not the kind of shadow furniture makes, but something tall, vertical, human-shaped. "Wes, you're not listening." "Sorry, just distracted. Tell me about Chloe. Did she ask for Daddy today?" Lara's expression softened. "Our 2-year-old daughter was the center of our universe, at least that's what I'd believed. She's been saying Dada all week. I think she misses you." The shadow moved again. Definitely human. Definitely male based on the height and shoulder width. My stomach clenched, but I kept my voice steady. "That's my girl. Hey, can you turn on the lamp behind you? The lighting's making everything look weird on my end." "The lamp's broken, remember? I told you before you left." I didn't remember that conversation, but then again, I'd been drowning in case files before this trip. Still, something about her tone felt rehearsed, like she'd prepared that answer. "Right, of course. My brain's mush right now." I leaned back against the hotel pillows, making sure my laptop camera stayed steady. "Mind if I just stay on with you for a while? This place is giving me the creeps." For the next 45 minutes, I kept her talking while secretly screen recording the entire conversation. We discussed mundane things, grocery lists, Chloe's upcoming pediatrician appointment with Dr. Trenwick, the leak in our upstairs bathroom that still needed fixing. Normal married couple stuff, except for the shadow that kept appearing and disappearing behind her. At one point, around the 30-minute mark, I saw enough of the figure to make out details. Tall, lean build, dark hair. The shadow lingered in the hallway for nearly 3 full minutes, while Lara told me about her continuing education courses at the community college. "I should probably let you get some sleep," I finally said, though every instinct screamed at me to keep watching. "Yeah, I'm exhausted. Love you, Wes." "Love you too." The call ended, and I immediately opened the recording. Frame by frame, I analyzed every shadow, every movement, every micro-expression on my wife's face. By the 3rd viewing, I'd identified something that made my chest tight with panic. The shadow had distinctive features, a sharp jawline, prominent nose, and when he'd turned slightly toward the kitchen light, I caught a glimpse of his eyes. Light blue, almost gray. I knew those eyes. Dr. Hale Trenwick, Chloe's pediatrician, the man who'd been treating our daughter since birth. The same man Lara always insisted on seeing, even when scheduling conflicts made appointments inconvenient. I grabbed my phone and pulled up the photos from Chloe's 2nd birthday party 3 months ago. There she was, my beautiful daughter, smiling at the camera with those same light blue eyes staring back at me. Not Lara's green eyes, not my brown eyes. Hale's eyes. My hands shook as I opened my laptop and booked the next flight home. 11 hours and 43 minutes until takeoff. Then another 8 hours in the air, plus travel time. I'd be walking through my front door at approximately 4 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. The shadow in my house was about to get a name, and I was going to make sure he knew I'd found it. Logan International Airport at 3:15 in the morning looked like a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I dragged my carry-on through empty terminals, my mind racing faster than my feet could move. The Uber ride home took 23 minutes through deserted suburban streets. Every traffic light felt like an eternity. I kept replaying the video call, analyzing Lara's expressions, her word choices, the way she'd positioned herself on the couch to block certain angles of the room. Our house sat dark except for the porch light we always left on. I paid the driver and stood on the sidewalk for a moment, staring at the place I'd called home for 3 years. White colonial, black shutters, perfectly manicured lawn that Lara insisted on maintaining because appearances matter in this neighborhood. I used my key quietly, disabling the alarm system before it could chirp. The living room looked exactly as it had on the video call. Throw pillows arranged just so, Lara's water glass still on the coffee table, even the same magazine open to the same page. But something was different. A faint cologne scent lingered in the air. Not my cologne. Something expensive, medicinal almost, like the kind of sanitized smell that clings to doctors even after they leave the hospital. I climbed the stairs carefully, avoiding the third step that always creaked. Our bedroom door stood slightly ajar, and through the gap I could see Lara sleeping peacefully, her blonde hair spread across the pillow like a halo. Chloe's nursery was across the hall. I pushed the door open and stepped inside, my heart hammering against my ribs. She looked perfect in her crib, tiny chest rising and falling with each breath, completely innocent of the chaos swirling around her. On the changing table, partially hidden behind a stack of diapers, I found it. A gold cufflink. Expensive, engraved with the initials H.T. Hale Trenwick. I picked it up, feeling its weight in my palm. This wasn't some random piece of jewelry that had fallen from a repairman's shirt or a delivery guy's sleeve. This was a deliberate calling card, evidence of intimate presence in my daughter's most private space. My phone buzzed with a text message. Nina Valdez, my colleague at the law firm and our best digital forensic specialist. Got your message. Ran preliminary analysis on that video file you sent. We need to talk ASAP. This is bigger than you think. I responded immediately. Home now. Found physical evidence. Can you meet at the office at 6 a.m.? Already there. Bring coffee and prepare yourself for some harsh truths. I slipped the cufflink into my pocket and took one last look at Chloe. Those blue eyes that had seemed so beautiful now felt like accusations staring back at me from her sleeping face. 20 minutes later, I was walking through the empty corridors of Brennan, Farrow & Associates, carrying 2 large coffees and a growing sense that my entire life had been built on lies. Nina's office glowed with the blue light of multiple computer screens. She looked up when I entered, her dark hair pulled back in the messy bun she always wore when deep into technical work. Sit down, Wes. You're not going to like this. I handed her the coffee and settled into the chair across from her desk. Show me what you found. She turned her largest monitor toward me. The screen displayed a frame-by-frame analysis of my video call, with the shadow enhanced and clarified through some kind of software magic I didn't pretend to understand. Your instincts were right. That's definitely Dr. Hale Trenwick in your house. But that's not the worst part. She clicked to another window. I ran facial recognition on this image and cross-referenced it with public social media posts from the past 18 months. A grid of photos appeared, all featuring Hale at various social events around the city. Charity galas, medical conferences, community fundraisers. In at least 6 of them, I could spot Lara in the background or standing nearby, always just outside the main focus of the shot. They've been careful, Nina continued, but not careful enough. Look at the metadata on these images. She pulled up a timeline that made my stomach drop. The photos spanned back nearly 2 years, showing a clear pattern of Lara and Hale attending the same events, being in the same places, maintaining just enough distance to avoid suspicion, but close enough to coordinate. There's more. Nina's voice was gentle now, like she was delivering a terminal diagnosis. I pulled the cloud backup data from your shared family account. Lara's been deleting photos regularly, but the automatic backup system kept copies. The next screen nearly knocked me out of my chair. Hundreds of deleted photos showing Lara and Hale together in intimate settings. Restaurants I'd never been to, hotel lobbies, scenic overlooks during weekend trips that Lara had claimed were girls' weekends or continuing education seminars. But the image that destroyed me completely was a photo of Hale holding Chloe at what looked like a private birthday celebration. Not her official party that I'd attended, but some smaller, more intimate gathering. He was looking at her with the unmistakable expression of a father gazing at his child. "When was this taken?" I managed to ask. "Based on the metadata, about 6 weeks after Chloe's actual birthday. The location data shows it was taken at a restaurant in downtown Boston, the same day Lara told you she was attending a weekend seminar on early childhood development." I pulled the cufflink from my pocket and set it on Nina's desk. "Found this in Chloe's nursery an hour ago." She examined it under her desk lamp. "Hale Trenwick, he's not even trying to hide it anymore." "What do you mean, anymore?" Nina turned back to her computer and pulled up another file. "I've been digging into this since you sent me that video. Wes, they've been planning something. Look at this." The screen showed a series of legal documents that Nina had somehow accessed. Divorce papers, already prepared and notarized, just waiting for signatures. Asset distribution forms. Custody agreements that would give Lara primary custody of Chloe, with me paying substantial child support. "She's been setting this up for months," Nina explained. "The continuing education story, the social media posts about your work schedule, even some carefully planted conversations with neighbors about how you're never home. She's building a narrative." My phone buzzed with a notification. A new Instagram post from Lara, posted just 20 minutes ago while I thought she was sleeping. The image showed her looking exhausted and vulnerable, sitting in our kitchen with a cup of tea. The caption read, 3 a.m. thoughts. "Sometimes I wonder if the people we love most are the ones who understand us least, feeling grateful for the friends who remind me that I deserve to be truly seen and valued." Late night. Reflection. Check growth. The post already had 17 likes and 5 comments, all from her girlfriends offering support and asking if everything was okay. "She knows you're home," Nina said quietly. "This post is part of the setup. She's establishing a timeline that shows you coming home unexpectedly in the middle of the night, probably planning to claim you were acting erratically or suspiciously." I stared at the post, reading between the lines of every carefully chosen word. This wasn't just an affair. This was a calculated dismantling of my life, orchestrated by the woman I'd trusted with everything and the man I'd trusted with my daughter's health. "Nina, I need you to help me understand something. If Hale is Chloe's biological father, how did they manage the timing? Lara and I were trying to conceive for months before she got pregnant." Nina's expression grew even more serious. "That's what I was afraid you'd ask. I pulled Lara's medical records. Don't ask me how. She was never infertile, Wes. The fertility struggles were completely fabricated. She was using birth control the entire time you thought you were trying, then stopped when she was ready to conceive with Hale." The room spun around me. Every conversation about starting a family, every disappointed month when the pregnancy test came back negative, every reassuring word I'd offered when she cried about our bad luck, all of it had been theater. "How long do you think this has been going on?" "Based on the digital evidence, at least 2.5 years, probably longer." I stood up and walked to Nina's window, looking out at the city as it slowly woke up. Somewhere out there, Hale was probably driving home from my house, confident that his secret was safe. Somewhere else, Lara was crafting her next social media post designed to make me look like the villain in our marriage's collapse. "What do I do now?" Nina joined me at the window. "You have 2 choices. You can confront them with what we know and hope for some kind of honest resolution. Or what? Or you can be smarter than they think you are. They've been playing a long game, Wes. Maybe it's time you started playing one too? I turned to face her, feeling something cold and calculating settling into my chest, where warmth used to live. What did you have in mind? By 7:30 that morning, I was back home, acting like a husband returning from a successful business trip. I found Lara in the kitchen, making coffee and scrolling through her phone, probably monitoring the response to her late-night Instagram post. "You're home early," she said, looking up with what seemed like genuine surprise. "I thought your flight wasn't until this afternoon." "Meetings wrapped up ahead of schedule. I missed my girls too much to wait around Singapore for another day." I kissed her cheek, noting how she tensed slightly at the contact. "How was your night? You look tired." "Couldn't sleep. You know how I get when you're traveling." She handed me a mug of coffee, her wedding ring catching the morning light. "Chloe's still sleeping, but she'll be so excited to see you." I nodded, playing the role of the devoted husband and father, while my mind catalogued every micro-expression, every word choice, every tell that might reveal her true thoughts. "I saw your Instagram post from last night. Everything okay?" A flicker of something, guilt, calculation, crossed her face. "Oh, that. Just one of those late-night mood things. You know how I get philosophical when I can't sleep." "The friends who remind you that you deserve to be truly seen and valued," I quoted. "That sounds pretty specific." Lara turned back to the coffee maker, avoiding my eyes. "Just general friend support stuff. Janie's been going through some marriage issues, and we've been talking about how important it is to have people who really understand you." Janie Morrison, Lara's best friend since college, a socialite whose husband owned 3 car dealerships and who treated gossip like an Olympic sport. If Lara was confiding in Janie about our marriage, half the city would know our business within a week. "Speaking of understanding," I said carefully, "I was thinking we should schedule some time together this weekend, just the 3 of us. Maybe take Chloe to that new children's museum she's been wanting to visit." "This weekend?" Lara's voice pitched slightly higher. "I have that continuing education seminar on Saturday, remember? The one on developmental psychology?" Another lie. Nina had already confirmed there were no continuing education seminars scheduled at any local colleges this weekend. I wondered where Lara was really planning to spend Saturday. Probably the apartment Nina had discovered, the one leased under Hale's name. "Right, of course. Maybe Sunday then." "Sunday works." She seemed relieved. "I should probably get Chloe up soon. She has that appointment with Dr. Trenwick this afternoon." My hand tightened around the coffee mug. "Appointment? For what?" "Just a routine checkup, making sure she's hitting all her developmental milestones." Lara's tone was casual, but I caught the slight tremor in her voice. "You know how thorough Dr. Trenwick is about tracking everything." I bet he was thorough, especially when it came to tracking his own daughter's development. "Maybe I should come with you. I feel like I've missed too many of her appointments lately." "You don't need to do that. I know how busy you are getting caught up after traveling." Lara was already shaking her head. "Besides, it's just a quick visit. 15 minutes tops." Another lie. Routine pediatric checkups for 2-year-olds typically lasted 30 to 45 minutes, especially the thorough developmental assessments she'd described. This appointment was something else entirely. My phone buzzed with a text from Nina. "Legal docs filed this morning. Emergency motion to freeze your business accounts. Lara's attorney cited financial irregularities and erratic behavior patterns. You have maybe 6 hours before this hits." I excused myself to use the bathroom and quickly typed back, "How is that possible? I haven't done anything irregular." "Doesn't matter. The motion includes evidence of unusual international wire transfers and suspicious account activity. Someone's been setting this up for weeks." My reflection in the bathroom mirror looked like a stranger. Dark circles under my eyes, stubble from the long flight. But something else had changed too. The trusting, optimistic expression I'd worn for 4 years of marriage was gone, replaced by something harder and more calculating. When I returned to the kitchen, Lara was on the phone speaking in low tones. "I have to go," she said quickly when she saw me. We'll talk later. Who was that? Just Janie. She wanted to know if you made it home safely. Lara's smile looked practiced. She says hi, by the way. I doubted Janie Morrison had ever asked about my travel schedule in her life, but I nodded like I believed it. I should probably head into the office for a few hours, I said. Try to catch up on everything I missed while I was gone. Of course. I'll handle things here. I kissed her goodbye, tasting the lie on her lips, and headed for the door. As I backed out of the driveway, I saw her watching me through the kitchen window, her phone already pressed to her ear again. The drive to my office gave me 23 minutes to think, and by the time I reached the parking garage, I'd made several decisions that would have seemed impossible 48 hours earlier. First, I was going to beat Lara to the courthouse. If she wanted to freeze my accounts and paint me as financially irresponsible, I'd make sure the judge heard my side first. Second, I was going to that pediatric appointment this afternoon, whether Lara wanted me there or not. Third, I was going to start documenting everything. Every lie, every inconsistency, every piece of evidence that proved my wife and my daughter's doctor had been planning the destruction of my life. Nina was waiting in my office when I arrived, along with Tom Bradley, the firm's senior partner and my mentor for the past 8 years. We have a problem, Tom said without preamble. I got a call an hour ago from Patricia Vance. Patricia Vance was one of the most aggressive divorce attorneys in the city, known for taking high-profile cases and destroying opposing parties through character assassination and financial warfare. She's representing Lara? I asked, though I already knew the answer. She wanted to give me a courtesy heads-up about some concerning behavior patterns she'd been made aware of: unusual travel expenses, international account activity, signs of emotional instability. Tom's expression was grim. Wes, she had documentation, bank statements, credit card records, even some kind of psychological evaluation. Psychological evaluation? From whom? Nina and Tom exchanged glances. Dr. Hale Trenwick, Nina said quietly. Apparently, he's been treating not just Chloe, but providing some kind of family counseling services. His professional opinion is that you've been showing signs of increasing paranoia and control issues. The room went silent, except for the hum of the air conditioning. I sat down heavily in my desk chair, trying to process the scope of what they'd done. How long? I asked. Based on the dates on these documents, they've been building this case for at least 6 months, Tom replied. Wes, I have to ask, is any of this true? Have you been having any kind of mental health issues, financial problems, anything that might give credence to these claims? I looked at my mentor, a man who'd known me since I was a junior associate, who'd trusted me with the firm's biggest cases, who'd been like a father to me when my own father passed away 3 years ago. Tom, the only mental health issue I'm having is discovering that my wife has been sleeping with our daughter's pediatrician, that he's probably Chloe's biological father, and that they've spent months setting me up to look like an unfit husband and father so they can take everything I've worked for. Tom's eyebrows shot up. You have proof of this? Nina turned her laptop screen toward him. For the next 20 minutes, she walked him through everything we'd discovered. The video evidence, the deleted photos, the timeline of deception, the fake fertility struggles, the apartment lease, even the cufflink I'd found in Chloe's nursery. When she finished, Tom leaned back in his chair and whistled low. This is either the most elaborate frame job I've ever seen, or your wife and Dr. Trenwick are sociopaths. I'm voting for sociopaths, I said. The question is, what do we do about it? They're moving fast, and they have the advantage of preparation. By this afternoon, your accounts could be frozen, your reputation could be damaged, and you could be fighting an uphill battle just to see your own daughter. I stood up and walked to the window overlooking the city. Somewhere out there, Lara was probably getting ready for her fake appointment with her real lover, planning to use my daughter as a prop in whatever game they were playing. We fight back, I said, but we do it smarter than they expect. What do you have in mind? I turned back to face them, feeling that cold calculation settling deeper into my chest. They think they know me. They think I'm the trusting, naive husband who'll roll over and accept whatever story they feed me. They're about to learn that underestimating a corporate lawyer is a very expensive mistake. Nina smiled for the first time all morning. Now you're talking. What's the first move? We're going to give them exactly what they think they want, and we're going to make sure they hang themselves with it. At 2:15 that afternoon, I sat in my car across the street from Trenwick Pediatric Associates, watching the entrance through binoculars I'd borrowed from Nina's emergency kit. Lara's silver BMW was already in the parking lot, which meant she and Chloe had arrived early for their 2:30 appointment. My phone buzzed with updates from Nina, who was monitoring the situation from her office computer. Patricia Vance filed the emergency motion 20 minutes ago. Judge Morrison, no relation to your wife's friend, will hear it first thing tomorrow morning. I typed back, perfect. That gives us tonight to prepare our counter motion. Already drafting it. Tom's reviewing the evidence files now. Through the binoculars, I watched the front door of the medical building. At exactly 2:45, Lara emerged carrying Chloe, but instead of heading to her car, she walked around to the back of the building where a separate entrance led to what I assumed were the private offices. Hale Trenwick met them at the door. Even from a distance, I could see the familiarity between them, the way he touched Lara's shoulder, how naturally he took Chloe from her arms, the comfortable body language of people who'd done this many times before. They disappeared inside, and I made my decision. I crossed the street and entered through the main entrance, approaching the receptionist with my best concerned father expression. Hi, I'm Wes Farrow. My wife brought our daughter Chloe in for an appointment, but I got out of meetings earlier than expected. I was hoping I could join them. The receptionist, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, looked confused. I'm sorry, Mr. Farrow, but I don't show any appointment for Chloe today. Are you sure it was scheduled for this afternoon? 2:30 with Dr. Trenwick. My wife Lara should have checked in about 15 minutes ago. She clicked through her computer system, frowning. I'm not seeing anything. Let me check with Dr. Trenwick's office. She picked up the phone, but before she could dial, I held up my hand. Actually, let me try calling my wife first. Maybe there was some confusion about the time. I stepped away from the desk and pretended to dial Lara's number while actually opening my phone's camera app. If they weren't here for a legitimate appointment, I wanted to document whatever was really happening. Excuse me, I said, returning to the receptionist. My wife's not answering, but her car is in your parking lot. Is it possible they went to a different part of the building? The receptionist looked genuinely puzzled now. Well, Dr. Trenwick does have a private consultation office in the back wing, but that's usually reserved for special circumstances. Special circumstances? Family counseling, difficult diagnoses, that sort of thing, but I would have been notified if there was an appointment. I felt pieces clicking into place. Could you check if Dr. Trenwick is in his private office right now? She hesitated, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. Mr. Farrow, maybe I should just call Dr. Trenwick directly and let him know you're here. That would be great, thank you. She dialed an extension and waited. After a moment, she hung up. No answer. He might be with a patient. In his private office? Possibly. I thanked her and walked back outside, circling around to the rear of the building. The back wing had several windows, and through one of them, I could see into what looked like a comfortable office space with a couch, chairs, and children's toys scattered around. Lara was sitting on the couch, Chloe playing on the floor beside her. Hale sat in a chair across from them, but this wasn't any kind of medical examination. They were talking intently, like people making plans, and every few minutes one of them would glance toward Chloe with expressions that made my stomach turn. I started recording with my phone, making sure to capture clear images of all three of them in this obviously non-medical setting. Then Hale did something that confirmed every suspicion I'd harbored. He got down on the floor and started playing with Chloe, but not like a doctor interacting with a young patient. He played with her like a father plays with his daughter. Intimate, natural, full of inside jokes and familiar games. Chloe giggled and reached for him, calling out something I couldn't hear through the window. But I could read her lips well enough to make out the word she was saying. Dada! My hands shook as I kept recording. My 2-year-old daughter was calling another man Dada, while my wife watched with a smile that I'd never seen her direct toward me. The recording ran for 12 minutes before they started moving toward the office door. I quickly retreated to my car and waited. They emerged from the back entrance at 3:20, Hale walking them to Lara's BMW. Before she got in the car, Lara kissed him. Not a friendly peck on the cheek, but a real kiss, the kind married people share when they're saying goodbye. Hale lifted Chloe up and spun her around, making her laugh before placing her in her car seat. He said something to her that made her clap her hands, then closed the door and tapped the roof of the car twice. As Lara drove away, Hale stood in the parking lot watching until her car disappeared around the corner. I followed at a distance, expecting her to head home. Instead, she drove to the downtown area and parked outside an upscale apartment building I'd never seen before. Nina's research had been correct. This had to be the apartment leased under Hale's name. Lara carried Chloe inside, using her own key to access the building. I parked across the street and called Nina. I need you to pull everything you can find about the apartment at 1247 Riverside Drive, Unit 4B. Lease agreements, utility bills, any paper trail that connects it to Hale or Lara. Already on it. I've been monitoring the building's security cameras remotely. Lara's been there at least twice a week for the past 4 months, always with Chloe. They're living a double life. This isn't just an affair, Nina. They're playing house. It gets worse. I accessed Hale's financial records, don't ask me how. He's been paying for everything. Rent, utilities, even a grocery delivery service. He's essentially supporting a second household. I watched the 4th-floor windows, trying to figure out which unit was theirs. After a few minutes, lights came on in what appeared to be a corner apartment with a view of the river. How long do you think this has been going on? Based on the lease agreement, 18 months. But I found earlier records showing they looked at apartments together almost 2 years ago. 2 years. Chloe was only 2 years old, which meant they'd been planning this alternate life since before she was born. Maybe since she was conceived. My phone buzzed with a text from Lara. Running errands with Chloe. We'll be home by 6 for dinner. How was your day back at the office? I stared at the message, marveling at how easily the lies came to her. She was sitting in an apartment with our daughter and her lover, texting me about running errands. I typed back, long day catching up. See you at 6. Love you. The words tasted bitter even as I typed them, but I needed to maintain the facade until I was ready to drop the hammer. Nina, I need you to prepare a complete dossier on everything we've found. Photos, financial records, timeline, witness statements if possible. I want it ready for tomorrow's hearing. Already working on it. But Wes, you need to prepare yourself for the possibility that this goes public. If we present all this evidence, it's going to be a scandal. Hale's reputation will be destroyed, Lara's social media perfect life will implode, and Chloe's parentage will become public knowledge. I looked up at the apartment windows where my wife was playing house with another man, and my daughter was calling that man Dada. Let it burn, I said. They made their choices. Now they get to live with the consequences. At 5:45, I watched Lara and Chloe leave the apartment building. By the time I got home at 6:15, Lara was in the kitchen preparing dinner, humming softly to herself like she'd spent the afternoon doing something completely innocent. How did the appointment go? I asked, kissing Chloe's forehead as she played in her high chair. Great. Dr. Trenwick says she's developing perfectly. All her milestones are right on track. Lara's smile was radiant, probably because she was thinking about the real reason for her happiness. That's wonderful. I'm glad everything's normal. Very normal, she agreed. Just a routine checkup. I nodded and smiled, playing the role of the trusting husband for one more night. Tomorrow, at 9 a.m. sharp, Judge Morrison would hear Patricia Vance's motion to freeze my accounts and restrict my access to Chloe based on allegations of financial impropriety and mental instability. But Judge Morrison would also hear my counter motion, supported by video evidence, financial records, and documentation proving that my wife and my daughter's pediatrician had been conducting a 2-year campaign of deception designed to steal my child and destroy my life. I looked at Chloe, innocent and beautiful, completely unaware that her world was about to change forever. Tomorrow, the shadow would finally step into the light, and everyone would see exactly what it looked like. Judge Morrison's courtroom felt like a gladiatorial arena at 9 a.m. sharp. Patricia Vance sat at the plaintiff's table with Lara, both women dressed in conservative suits designed to project respectability and victimization. Across the aisle, I sat with Tom Bradley, our evidence files organized in neat stacks that represented 2 years of systematic deception. Your Honor, Patricia began, her voice carrying the practiced authority of someone who'd destroyed dozens of marriages. We're here today because Mr. Farrow's behavior has become increasingly erratic and concerning. His wife fears for her safety and the safety of their 2-year-old daughter. She presented her carefully crafted narrative. My obsessive work travel, unusual financial transactions, late-night phone calls that suggested paranoid behavior, and a psychological evaluation from Dr. Hale Trenwick indicating possible mental health issues. Dr. Trenwick has been treating the family for over 2 years, Patricia continued, and his professional opinion is that Mr. Farrow's behavior patterns suggest someone who may be suffering from stress-induced paranoia and control issues. Judge Morrison, a stern woman in her 60s, reviewed the documents with a furrowed brow. These are serious allegations, Ms. Vance. Mr. Bradley, how does your client respond to these claims? Tom stood, and I felt a surge of gratitude for his steady presence. Your Honor, my client doesn't just respond to these allegations. He categorically disproves them with evidence that reveals a coordinated campaign of deception orchestrated by Mrs. Farrow and Dr. Trenwick. Patricia's confident expression flickered slightly. Furthermore, Tom continued, we have evidence that Dr. Trenwick's psychological evaluation is not only professionally inappropriate, but represents a massive conflict of interest, given his personal relationship with Mrs. Farrow. Objection, Your Honor, Patricia interrupted. There's no evidence of any inappropriate relationship between my client and Dr. Trenwick beyond normal doctor-patient interactions. Tom smiled. Your Honor, we'd like to present Exhibit A. Nina had worked until 3 a.m. preparing our presentation. The courtroom's large screen lit up with a crystal-clear image taken from my Singapore video call, Hale's shadow clearly visible in my living room at midnight. This image was captured 3 days ago during a video call between Mr. Farrow and his wife. The timestamp shows 12:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mrs. Farrow claimed to be alone with their daughter, yet digital enhancement clearly shows Dr. Hale Trenwick in their home. Lara's face went pale. Patricia frantically shuffled through her papers, clearly caught off guard. Exhibit B, Tom continued, as the screen changed to show the deleted photos Nina had recovered. These are images from Mrs. Farrow's cloud storage account, showing her and Dr. Trenwick together at various locations over the past 18 months. Mrs. Farrow claimed these trips were for continuing education, but as you can see, they were romantic getaways. The photos were damning. Lara and Hale at restaurants, hotels, scenic locations, clearly intimate and comfortable with each other. Exhibit C. The screen now showed the apartment building lease. Dr. Trenwick has been paying for a second residence where Mrs. Farrow and the child spend significant time. This apartment has been their primary meeting place for over a year. Judge Morrison leaned forward, studying the documents. Ms. Vance, Did your client disclose any of this information when you prepared your motion? Patricia looked like she was drowning. Your Honor, we were not aware of these alleged relationships. Alleged? Tom's voice carried a hint of incredulity. Your Honor, we also have video evidence from yesterday afternoon. The screen changed again, showing my recording from outside Hale's office. The footage clearly showed Lara kissing Hale goodbye, Chloe calling him Dada, and their obvious familiarity as a family unit. This was taken during what Mrs. Farrow claimed was a routine pediatric appointment. As you can see, no medical examination took place. Instead, Dr. Trenwick met privately with Mrs. Farrow and the child in a setting that suggests an ongoing, intimate relationship. Judge Morrison turned to Lara, her expression stern. Mrs. Farrow, do you care to explain these images? Lara looked at Patricia desperately, but her attorney seemed to have run out of strategies. Your Honor, Lara began, her voice shaky, those images are taken out of context. Dr. Trenwick has been providing family counseling services and… Family counseling? Judge Morrison interrupted. Mrs. Farrow, did you inform your husband that you were receiving family counseling? Did he consent to psychological evaluation by someone who was simultaneously conducting an intimate relationship with you? The silence stretched uncomfortably. Your Honor, Tom said, we believe the evidence shows that Mrs. Farrow and Dr. Trenwick have been conducting a coordinated campaign to discredit Mr. Farrow's mental state and financial stability in preparation for a divorce that would grant her primary custody and substantial financial support. But there's one more thing, I said, standing up despite Tom's surprised look. Judge Morrison raised an eyebrow. Mr. Farrow? Your Honor, I'd like to present evidence regarding the paternity of the child in question. The courtroom went completely silent. Lara's face turned white as paper. During my investigation, I discovered that my wife fabricated fertility issues to explain delays in conception. Medical records show she was never infertile. Instead, she used birth control to prevent pregnancy until she was ready to conceive with Dr. Trenwick. I pulled out the DNA test results that Nina had helped me obtain through a private laboratory. These results confirmed that Dr. Hale Trenwick is the biological father of the child both parties have been fighting over. My wife has been claiming child support and custody rights for a child that isn't mine, while simultaneously conducting a relationship with the actual father. The explosion was immediate. Patricia jumped to her feet objecting, Lara started crying, and Judge Morrison pounded her gavel repeatedly to restore order. Enough! Judge Morrison's voice cut through the chaos. Ms. Vance, Mrs. Farrow, Dr. Trenwick, yes, I'm ordering him to appear in this courtroom immediately. You have 30 minutes to explain how a supposedly routine divorce proceeding has turned into evidence of fraud, perjury, and professional misconduct. As the bailiff went to summon Hale, I looked across the aisle at Lara. She was staring at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not the loving wife, not the concerned mother, but something cold and calculating that had probably been there all along. You have no idea what you've just done, she whispered. I leaned back in my chair, feeling calmer than I had in days. Actually, Lara, I know exactly what I've done. I've told the truth. Something you might want to try sometime. When Hale arrived 25 minutes later, flanked by his own attorney, Judge Morrison had already reviewed all our evidence. The man who walked into that courtroom looked nothing like the confident pediatrician who'd been playing house with my wife and daughter. He looked like someone whose entire world was about to collapse. And as I watched him take his seat, knowing that his medical license, his reputation, and his carefully constructed life were about to be destroyed by his own choices, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. The shadow finally had a name, and now everyone could see exactly what it looked like in the light. Judge Morrison's final ruling was swift and decisive. All of Patricia's motions were denied, my accounts remained unfrozen, and a full investigation was ordered into both Lara's financial deception and Hale's professional misconduct. As we walked out of the courthouse, Tom clapped me on the shoulder. That was the most thorough demolition I've ever witnessed in family court. I looked back at the courthouse steps where Lara stood with Patricia and Hale, all three of them looking like survivors of a natural disaster. Tom, that wasn't a demolition, I said. That was justice. The shadow that had haunted my midnight video call was gone forever, replaced by the harsh light of truth that would follow all three of them for the rest of their lives. And for the first time in months, I could finally see clearly.